Well, I guess I'm a little bit sad to finish Little Tassie.
Well, it's quite an intense feeling of accomplishment when finishing 2 seasons of Little Tassie. I mean, I worked for a year on and off doing this, and I learned so much from doing it. Little Tassie Christmas Special, Architect Sketch, Shot, and Take 1.
The way we finished episode 5 of season 1 was in a very definitive way.
When we thought about doing a Christmas special, we were very not sure how we'd do it.
Albert had stood up to Maggie, and they both were leaving Mount Wellington, and they seemed to be going back to wherever they came from. They didn't seem that their story seemed to be at an end. They weren't tourists in Tasmania anymore. We're catching a plane back, Maggie.
But Albert!
Maggie, I'm warning you.
Yes, Albert.
Let's go. And so when we thought, okay, we're doing a second season, and we're going to do a Christmas special to bridge us into that second season, what would be the story that would get us from episode 5 of season 1 to episode 1 of season 2?
The tinsel.
Yes, Maggie.
Like Albert and Maggie back in Canada was one of the ideas, and different ideas of what we could do.
Flynn and I eventually came up with the idea that they missed their flight. They missed their flight, and they end up having to go back to the hotel and spending Christmas in Tasmania.
The video?
What?
The video, Albert. Did you start the video?
And that turned out very well, and I think that was a good idea.
Between the seasons, between season 1 and season 2, we sort of had a big break period. We had like a couple of months. In the middle we did the Christmas special. But then there was a whole lot of months where we said, okay, we got to do the second season, but how do we approach it? Because it was always going to be the last one. So all of the characters have to have these arcs. They all have to finish at episode 5, and that's it. We're not doing any more. It was decided that the second season would be the last one, ever. And so we thought it over. We just did a couple of minutes a day for months and months, and it never got anywhere. We couldn't seem to get on a roll with it. And eventually we cleared a couple of months and said, okay, we're going to do this.
We would like to make a special mention to Tasmania's answer to the Coen brothers, Fletcher and Flynn Camino.
There was this film festival, and we submitted 2 sketches, a collection of librarian sketches for the season, and then an architect sketch. And then we submitted them into the festival, and it got shortlisted, which was good. And then we said, okay, we've got a couple of sketches. Now we've got enough to begin working on the first episode.
Come in. The first episode was sort of like the kickoff, so we wanted something solid and something that would sort of reintroduce the characters. Hi, Matthew. What brings you here? It being a big, long time between the first season and the second season.
We had to figure out how do they get stuck there. Because in the second season, if they're back somewhere else, like in Canada, which was where they're from, that's where we decided they were from, then it wouldn't be Little Tassie. They wouldn't be able to be in Little Tassie if they weren't in Tasmania.
It was hard to keep our more evolved acting to the same level as the first season, but it ended up working well.
So we thought, what could keep them in Tasmania for a whole second season, which is a long period of time? and we decided maybe Maggie's nephew comes over to stay.
We introduced an insane character called Eddie, and we didn't know who he was, what he was going to do.
What kind of nephew is this Edward?
He's a psychopathic maniac, Albert.
Hmm. Originally we had cast someone for the role of Eddie. We had cast Lincoln Davey, who was in the Christmas special, and he did a pretty good job, so we thought, you know, he could be Eddie.
Eddie was... before the Christmas special, when we brought in Eddie, we were trying to think of a different angle for Albert and Maggie. Because before, it was just them at tourist locations just saying, take a picture, Albert, take a picture, Albert, and there wasn't much going on in their relationship.
And so I wrote all of the scripts, and he didn't actually have many lines. Like, he only had a couple of lines, and mostly he was just running away from Albert and Maggie, and it was hard to pinpoint the character. Eddie's doing all these pranks, but why? And if he was doing it for this reason, what would he say when Albert and Maggie ask him something? It was very tricky, and the scripts didn't seem to work. And then eventually we came up with the idea, what if we don't see it?
We see just Maggie, and she's just entirely caught off guard, and she just doesn't even shout Albert when he asks about who is Eddie, what is he like. Just says he's insane. So really we set quite a task for ourselves for the next season with Eddie, because we didn't know how we were going to portray an insane nephew.
He's just like behind the scenes setting up the pranks, you know, and then Maggie and Albert are falling over them and they're suffering from the pranks, but you never actually see Eddie himself, and that allows your imagination to fill in the blanks. Like, who is this? Is he a psychopathic maniac? You know, what does he look like?
Action. Take 2, action.
So I smiled.
Take 3, action. Take 4, action. Action, action, action. Action. Action.
Maggie!
Albert, get the little monster! Eat that! Fuck!
Take 10, action. Take 14,
13.
13. Take 14, action.
Maggie!
Albert, get the little monster! He's up to pick up my spot on my head! Get him!
Come in.
Hiya, boss.
Oh, hi Matthew. What brings you here?
My job.
Ah, yes.
The boss was a funny character that came up while we were just brainstorming one day. We just thought, you know, what about this guy now? Actually, it came out of this ad lib. Actually, because we're doing the Christmas special, we're doing the silent part, which is basically like an introduction, and it's all, there's music, there's no audio. And basically we just had to do a couple of words, and we said, you know, maybe we can get these things, put full audio on them, and put them into sort of an extras thing. And so the Christmas special extras came out of that.
The main thing is to fix the coffee machine, which is getting a bit faulty after 5 years of use. So I think we should change that also, but we need to re-carpet the entire office, just to be sure that no bugs are living there.
And in those extras, Flynn was actually talking. He talked during the silent part. Basically, his character was like, and then we'll line up the light fixtures, and we'll do this, and it was absolutely hilarious.
The boss was an extreme new angle for the architect, who, after Fletcher handed the scripting over to me around the second episode, when he didn't appear, Even when I took over with some ideas, I started to slowly run out. So, because his character can only do a certain amount of things with his season 1 persona.
But that is not the point that I am making.
So we decided to add in someone even more insane. His boss, who is never concentrating on his work, but is somehow more devoted than anyone else working there. Matthew! Matthew, you're not getting distracted, are you? You're not going with the fairies, are you? Because if you get distracted, there's no time, Matthew! There's no time to get distracted, Matthew!
And so he was in the extras, and then we thought, I think, and we were having trouble with the architect, where does he go? And we thought, okay, what if the boss is in the entire second season, and he supports the architect, and he gives the architect's story some fullness? And so eventually episode 1 got off the ground, and we released it on the exact same night as the film festival, as the film festival premiered, and online our video went up, and we only got shortlisted, but a lot of people there then tuned into the first episode, and the first episode got a ton of views, and we thought, okay, this is working.
How many chickens do I have?
2! Surprise! I got another one! Happy birthday!
The farmer was quite a big hurdle, because eventually he wore thin. How many pigs do we have?
The farmer in the Christmas special had become a little bit of a drone. He'd just gone a little bit monotone. He didn't have much character to his voice. And so we said, how are we going to make him a little more exciting? And so in episode 1 we said, making episode 1 we said we need to give him an arc for the entire season. And the deal is that he's a farmer, so we get him out of his element by sending him to Hobart, and he meets up with his parents, which lets us see, what are his parents like? If he's just sort of, how many eggs did I have? What are his parents like?
We had to stretch the relationship between him and Deirdre to the limits, which I'm not sure everyone noticed until 5th episode, where Deirdre started to really show it in the way she talked and acted.
I need to be alone for a while.
In the end, we had all this material to make the farmer great, and so we just had to start writing scripts.
It's going alright. Isn't that fantastic, Tony?
Oh, thrilling.
Too true.
A lot of people replied back about the split screening, and I thought, okay, I better mention it. So, basically, we split screened. So, in the 4th episode was the first try we had at it, where we had Flynn and Flynn as the farmer's father and the farmer's mother together in the same shot. We thought, okay, we tried it out before, but it didn't work so well because there was a line. Like, there was always a line where the shot ended. And so we had to really sync that with the curtains behind them, so that the line would go through the curtains, so then you wouldn't see it, and in the end it was invisible, and it looked perfect.
The split screening was sort of necessary, because we couldn't go for the entire time just having 2 and 2. So we had to start thinking of, okay, 4 people, 3 people, and big conversations, but still have only 2 people. So Fletcher would be acting with himself, with me, or I'd be acting with myself and myself with Fletcher, and this would really mix it up a bit and give us a bit more leverage over just seeming like 2 people, which is quite an asset.
The 5th episode, basically, we decided to pick up exactly where the 4th left off. The farmer is in this moment with Deirdre that sort of, in episode 5 it becomes a comedy drama instead of just a pure comedy. And in that episode we decided that, it was the last episode. So we had Albert and Maggie wrapped up, the farmer wrapped up, the librarian wrapped up, and so every sketch had to be not only funny, but also wrap up that particular character. So Margaret and Lana's, is sort of a happy moment for her and her birthday and everything, and that's the last we'll see of her. And so the librarian has to be similar. And the librarian, I think, was the funniest sketch. It wrapped it up. It went beautifully. It wrapped it up, and it was hilarious, and everybody loved it. And the farmer was a little bit harder to do. We shot it in multiple locations with lots of green screening and everything. And in the end, we sort of thought, what if we connect it all? So we got the farmer on the same side of the road, and then we pan to where Albert and Maggie are. And then we have Albert and Maggie's final scene. And as they walk off, she's pointing, and we sort of rounded off the pilot. And, I think, all things considered, no matter how much we sort of thought it through, the first season was just sort of like, okay, we'll just wing it. Just write these funny scripts. It stands alone, there's no connection, there's no real arc. And it was just a funny sketch series. In the second season, it was the last season, and we decided to make it more of a story. And so it took so much longer to do and so much longer to plan. And but in the end, I think that we finally got it right, and I'm really, really happy with how it turned out.
So, yeah, we finished the second season. Yeah, quite sad to see it go, but quite a feeling of accomplishment, really. It was quite fun watching the premiere night. We just had snacks and watched the first season and second season plus the pilot and Christmas special, which is more than 2 hours. So when you say it like that, it seems like quite a bit, even with 10-minute episodes. And yeah, that was fun, just seeing everything we'd done.
I was a bit sad to finish Little Tassie, but also I know that we'll be doing other projects and other things. But Little Tassie was the first thing we ever released onto YouTube. The pilot was the first video we ever released, and so it's quite big because that's the first thing we'd ever shown publicly, and it's given us confidence to keep going. So really, Little Tassie will probably always be special to us.
No idiots were harmed in the making of this film.
Okay. And action.
Was that filming? Well, we ended the season and a bit of a sort of a in premiere. We watched both seasons plus the Christmas special and the pilot with our parents, and yeah, got a bit of a hangover.
So answer about so you.
Some of our superfans expected
What the hell? Do you have a feeling of accomplishment?
It's true. I have a feeling of accomplishment. Sorry.
Doesn't cut corners. Doesn't beat around the bush. And action.
Got to the chest,
Yes, Maggie.
How much? You're interrupting me.
Sorry, Maggie.
Anywho.
Come in.